Number 32 is Kenny Schrader. He's going to be the first car out on the clock today. Says his first attempt at a qualifying run here at Kentucky. Wasn't here for the first race last year.
Very close call in that second practice. Spun out coming off turn 2. The good thing is he did not hit anything. A lot of drivers fighting loose in both those practice sessions.
Yeah, we've seen a number of spins today. You know, Marcus Ambrose spun right away, and of course we had some contact. Not exactly casual either between Brad Keselowski and Juan Montoya over there. So we've seen a bit of action leading up to this session.
Darrell, you and I were talking earlier, talked about this in the practice session, a little bit of a rule change coming here. The rocker skirts, the skirts below the doors on the left and right side, NASCAR raised the height another ½ inch from a rule change they made a few weeks ago. And it's taken a little bit of rear downforce away, a little bit of rear grip and a little bit of side force, which helps these drivers get down in the corner without being loose. I think
the number I heard was 6% on the first takeaway that they did, and then this last ½ inch, another 2%. So they've lost about 8% of their side bite in the car.
With the heat as bad as it is here in the slippery racetrack, is this a track that's going to give us a real good idea as to how much that's really going to impact guys?
I don't think it will in qualifying necessarily. I think that it may show up in the race. I think it'd be more obvious in the race if there's going to be any big difference. Whoa, Kenny, where you going, brother?
Yeah, he drove that thing down in the middle of the corner. Good news is Schrader is locked in the show, because where he had issues, it's going to hurt the first lap and the second lap.
32.563 on the first one.
And that was something I was going to refer to. The first turn down here, turn 1 and 2, big sweepers. You really can drive off into one pretty hard. You got a big sweeping turn. The toughest part of this racetrack is right where Kenny is now and where he lost it. Getting into the corner right here, real tight entry. You got to really drive it in there and turn it down. And if you miss your mark over there a little bit, you get up the hill, and there's not much groove outside that black marks on the track where the groove is.
Stuck better for him that time as he went through 3 and 4. And it shows with a 32.041.
Yeah, you saw the track description, a 1.5 mile racetrack. That's twice the length of Richmond, which is a short track, but the same banking. And we were looking earlier, of all the 1.5 mile racetracks, this track has the shortest straightaways, which means you spend the most time in the corners of all the 1.5 mile tracks we go to.
Yeah, Atlanta is a mile of turns and a ½ mile of straightaways. Here it's just a little bit bigger than that, a little bit more than that, a little over a mile of turns and a little bit less straightaway.
Michael McDowell next out on the racetrack, driver out of Arizona.
And that makes it makes the driver really have to think about not overdriving the turns here. You've got to really, really get it in there and get it in good, but you got to really, if you overdrive, you're going to lose the car and go up the hill into that gray stuff, and there's no grip up there.
Michael's been pretty good on the 1.5 miles when it comes to qualifying. He's made the show at all 4 1.5 mile races so far this year.
What a great run he had at Road America last week. He did not go to Sonoma. He went up there, drove for Joe Gibbs Racing, a solid top 5 finish for Michael.
I think also, see what he run here on his first lap.
30.963.
He smoked Schrader off.
Yeah.
Big time.
Big time.
Well, and Michael has to. Yeah, Schrader's locked in. Michael is not.
Schrader had a little. I just thought, Schrader will be watching. I thought he'd point that out.
So he's going to make just one run on the clock. Michael McDowell with a good 30.963. We'll be back for more qualifying from Kentucky. David Rudiman skipped the last 2 Sprint Cup races, but he just ran a 31.122 here in Kentucky. Right now, his number 10 is number 5.
Something we need to kind of clear up. David Rudiman's teammate, Dave Blaney, we were kind of watching Chris Neville cook the eggs and the bacon. Blaney had taken the green flag when that happened to him in 1 and 2, so pretty much that's the reason he just pulled to the garage area.
J.J. Yaley has a second-place finish here in a NASCAR Nationwide Series race going back about 6 years in 2006. He's out on the track right now.
Yeah, Blaney had taken the green, and now I know why Michael was not nervous. I saw him earlier, and I said, are you uptight, bro? And he said, no, man, I'm cool. Now I know why. He's locked in.
Now, the little red stripe right there on the tracker represents Michael McDowell. J.J. Yaley will not beat him on that lap. He's 7th quickest at a 31.29. Darryl, you were talking. I think we both felt like if you could run in the 30s as a go-or-go-home, you were going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, those, 30-90 looks like a pretty good lap around here. I don't think JJ's going to get there.
Yeah, he definitely got up above that groove there through 3 and 4, lost a little ground. It's going to be about what he ran on lap 1.
Yeah, 31.507, a little slower than the first one by about 0.3.
But that locks Michael McDowell into the show.
Chris, I hear Larry's stomach rumbling up here. How's the eggs and bacon coming?
Well, it sounds like things are starting to heat up on the racetrack. They're also heating up down here. You can see our eggs are just about done. I'm going to flip these guys over because I like mine over medium. Bacon's taking a little bit longer, but we'll give these guys a flip too. See if we can try and cook those because I like my bacon crispy. What about you, Larry? You like it crispy or do you like it kind of soft like that?
Just as crispy as you can get it, Chris.
Okay,
You got plenty of time, though. A lot of cars to go.
We still have about 30 minutes, so I think we're in pretty good shape. The eggs might be a little dry in 30 minutes, though.
O.J. Kelder used to say crisp.
Crisp.
I like it crisp.
Crisp. I'll tell you what, those eggs are going to be the only thing dry around here.
You know what I think he's got? I think he's got one of those hot rocks under there. That's what I think. I think he might be messing with you, Larry.
I think he might be, too.
I mean,
it's
those
hot.
eggs,
I'm just not sure it's that hot.
Did you see those eggs? They were already brown on it. I mean, that's pretty hot.
Mike Bliss is trying to get a hot one right now. Bliss out on the track in the 19.
It's going to be a good lap for Mike Bliss. It looks like plenty fast enough to get in.
Won a truck race here in 2002. Bliss a 30.986.
That'll do it. You're in. You're in.
That's all he wanted to hear.
Stop now.
Can't key that radio fast enough.
No, that's all he wanted to hear. Bliss in the show tomorrow night in Kentucky. Let's check out an American Ethanol Fast Fact. Ethanol reduces carbon buildup in engines. The higher the ethanol blend, the lower the buildup. Scott Speed in the number 95, taking a lap at a 30.594. He goes up to number 1.
Unfortunately, that lap's going to send my buddy Mike Skinner to the house, though. We now have one go-or-go-home driver left, and that'll be Josh Weiss here in a couple of cars.
Michael's getting his run on the clock here, Darryl.
Yeah, it's got to be kind of hard. Like you heard Boyer say, this is a hard track to get around for even the guys that run these cars every week. Michael just hops in his car, but I think it tells you how good this car is. Rodney Childress, great crew chief, worked with all these different drivers, has had a good car every week for whoever's in it. And not a bad effort for my...
I know Michael's kind of in semi-retirement, if you will, but you realize he hasn't raced on a 1.5 miles since 2009?
It's been a while.
And having the, the Kentucky Wildcat logo on the hood. I was down in Owensboro a few weeks ago when Coach Calipari was taking the trophy around the state. He was taking it to every town in the state and displaying it on. And you would have thought it was Christmas. I mean, they were running around town. Coach Calipari's coming to town with the trophy. He's coming to town with a trophy. You'd have thought the Christmas parade was getting ready to break out.
31.359 and a 31.382. The 359 puts him number 14.
We didn't break our trophy. We took care of ours.
When you go into the athletic department in Tuscaloosa, how would you not bump into one? There's 14 of them there.
Great. Bump into one.
That's the beauty, Marty, of going to California State University, Chico. We never had to worry about that. We just had a good time while we were there.
Yeah, you guys are pretty good at partying there, Ralph,
We won
right?
a lot of those trophies, pal.
Yeah, I was going to say, Larry Mack and DW can fight it out, the SEC battle. Casey Kane, how was your car in qualifying trim earlier today?
We weren't very good. We were just really loose getting to the center of the corner. So we've changed it up a lot. We're a little bit different than our teammates at that point, and I think we're all pretty similar now. So hopefully our Quaker State Chevrolet will put up a good lap and be able to get in that top 10, which would be a big improvement from where we were in practice.
He mentions his teammates, not a bad direction to go. They were all pretty fast, but a lot of guys pointing to right behind you guys, a big black cloud headed this way. So wonder if we're going to get this whole session in or not, Ralph.
Well, you know, Marty, we were all, our windows here in our broadcast booth face out onto the racetrack. The clouds that you're talking about coming up from behind the booth. So we didn't see those, Darryl, until just a minute ago. And yes, it is getting dark in a hurry.
Yeah, I think just a little pop-up shower. It'll blow right by.
Josh Wise blows past the timing and scoring line with a 30.843.
Can't believe it was that fast. felt like I totally messed it up, but there's just more grip, I guess.
But he'll take it.
You got that right.
And that's going to send J.J. Yaley as well as Mike Skinner. That's all the go-or-go-home drivers. So we know what two drivers that will not make the show unless something happens, the rains move in. Then that would certainly change it because the field would be set just like a year ago as far as practice.
First practice.
First practice. The first practice session, the top 35 are still locked in.
Yeah, and we're not quite halfway yet, so we still got a lot of cars to go. And the clouds are moving fast.
Including Carl Edwards in the UPS colors this week.
Good looking car. I like that. Time I see it old brown on a car like I always think about my first race car, number 95. It was sponsored by Terminal Transport.
Yep.
And it was solid brown. And I wish we'd have been creative enough to figure out how to make it look pretty good like that one does, because all we had was a brown car.
Carl won from the pole here in the Nationwide Series in 2005, and then he won here in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series in 2003, which was actually his first win in NASCAR. It's going to be a pretty good lap.
Number 2 with a 30.644.
You know, Carl is sitting 11th in the points, only 11 points out of the top 10, and we certainly know the talk is about a 49-race winless streak. But when you look at some of the things that's happened to him, like the cut tire at Dover, getting caught up in a crash before lap 20 at Bristol, some other issues, he's really quite lucky to be 11th in the points.
The luck that he has had has been just unbelievable. The bad luck. It has just been amazing what he has gone through. 30.645. Wow.
That's
a thousandth slower.
2 almost exact laps. Boy, I tell you what, it is getting a little ugly over there to our left.
Well, and the wind is really blowing it this way.
Yeah. Marty, the wind has greatly picked up, hasn't it?
Biffle and I are looking at the wind. We're not sure if the apocalypse is coming or if it's going to rain. I think we'll get this thing in before the rain, Greg?
I don't know. I'm not much of a weatherman, but I thought we were until I see the wind really picking up now. But we'll just have to wait and see. You know, I hope so, because we weren't very fast in practice. So we got to get this qualifying run in to be decent here.
Well, you told us you changed that and tried one more qualifying run in the second session. Was it better?
Yes, it was. We got a lot better. So that's why we want to get this in if we can.
All right, guys, trying to get it in as quick as they can, Chris.
Marty, we're getting blown away down in the garage here. Michael Waltrip out of the 55 right now. And Michael, you've done a lot of plate races lately, but you haven't done a mile and a half since what, 09? How tough is that?
It's hard, and I was here last year to qualify, and we did work really good. The car was stable and comfortable, but with all the heat and the conditions and me not being in a car since then, it's all on me. I told Rodney I was so loose I couldn't drive it, and then they make a little adjustment.
There it goes.
And it's so tight I can't drive it. So Rodney and those guys are used to really having a fast car, and I feel like I've let them down a little bit, but if I could just run all the laps tomorrow night, get better all night long, and get them a good top 20 finish, they'll forgive me. Plus, I'll sign their checks. That helps, too.
Yeah, and this group's done so well lately. I'm sure they'll get this car figured out, and I better get back over to my eggs and bacon because they might be blowing around.
They're gone, Chris. Don't even worry about it.
It's getting ugly right now.
Yeah.
I mean, big time.
Yeah,
Montoya.
tent down there is blowing over. I mean, there's a lot of stuff blowing around. Big wind.
Scoring pylon was rocking back and forth. Montoya with a 30.846. He went slower. Well, there's a big tent in the infield that the top is just
Oh, yeah,
ripped
it just
right
ripped
off
it
of.
right off of that frame down there where all the fans were.
So we're being told now the NASCAR's put everything on a hold. There is more stuff just blowing around out of the grandstands. Fans are
There's stuff
exiting out of the grandstands.
There's
in a hurry.
umbrellas and tents. I never saw the like.
Now, we still have about 22 drivers left to qualify, and of course, nothing's been scratched, anything like that. But if we did lose qualifying, it would not change Mike Skinner's status in the 52. He doesn't make it either way. But what it would change is Scott Speed right now, the 95 car, who is fastest. He would not make the show, and J.J. Yaley in the 49 would get pulled in. So
there's a good look at those clouds that we were talking about.
Boy, you can just hear the wind rumbling all around the grandstand here. We haven't got any rain yet. We're just getting a lot of wind.
It's a pretty good idea to put the awning down. Well, while the action is on hold, we'll take care of a little business here on Speed. We'll be right back. Hopefully the wind will quiet down and we'll get back to qualifying. Well, we haven't rolled Tony Stewart off yet, but NASCAR tells us we're getting closer.
I think they're getting ready to wave him out.
Yeah. I hear an engine.
Yep.
It's a good sign. There he goes.
Yep.
As we watch Tony Stewart roll out, just one more quick thing on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. What a ride for that young man. You think about it, 2 years ago, Jack Roush benched him because of tearing race cars up. He came back the fall of 2010, competitive, wins a championship last year.
But he fits the Roush mold. If you look at Mark, you look at Carl, you look at the drivers that Jack has kind of hung his star on, he fits that mold. His dad and he raced together. He's a dirt track racer, you know, got a lot of the same credentials.
I've watched Ricky come up through the sprint car ranks and open wheel dirt stuff. That young man can wheel a race car, no doubt about it. So can this guy. Tony Stewart out on the track.
Boy, what a run he has been on here of late, though. His last 3 races, 3 top 3 finishes. Second at Michigan, third at Pocono a few weeks ago, and then, of course, second last week to Clint Boyer.
Yeah, he's the only thing hotter than the weather here this weekend, I can tell you.
And when it comes to mile-and-a-half tracks, he is really good. He has led almost 4,000 laps on a mile-and-a-half track. He's third all-time, most by any active driver.
Well, he moved the mark a ton there.
Yes,
30,
he did.
37.
He's wobbling around there. Whoa.
Looks like he's going to go ahead and try to run this second lap.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think he's
Not sure why.
Boy, it's actually coming back a little bit when he picked the throttle up in 3 and 4.
He lost so much time down in the 1 and 2, though. The car got really kind of loose, got a little jukey with him.
30.598. He should have just stuck with the first one. 30.371. Best lap of the day so far. Tony Stewart, number 1.
That's actually the same time that Kyle Busch, the fastest lap we've seen, 3.71. Same thing that he ran in practice.
Let's check out an American Ethanol Fast Fact. There have been 4 different winners in the 4 races on mile-and-a-half tracks so far this season. Casey Kane going to take his shot for the pole.
You know, we talked about the streak that Tony Stewart has been on the last 3 races. When you look at Casey Kane, after basically having 7 consecutive top 5 finishes, his last 3 finishes, 29th, 33rd, and 14th at Sonoma.
Of course, a mile-and-a-half track winner this year, taking the checkered flag at Charlotte.
Yeah, I figured after he won the 600, I said, well, this guy, watch out. That's all they needed. Now they'll be tough the rest of the year, but had a couple of bad weeks in there.
He goes right to number 1, 30.250, 30.250.
You know, maybe Chris or Marty could confirm this. I have to believe with that little delay that we had and the time that we sat and the way the weather's changed, I'd say this racetrack has gained some grip since the beginning of this qualifying session.
Yeah, with all that wind blowing on, had to cool off the surface a little bit, and the temperature's probably dropped. It's cloudy now, so I'm thinking you're right, Larry. Probably a little quicker.
And he's faster, 30.212, 30.212. Kane lowers his time. We were down for 17 minutes in between cars. Track can change a lot in 17 minutes, can't it?
It seemed longer than that,
sure
with that wind blowing around the way it was.
It's pretty intense, 17 minutes, I'll tell you that. But, you know, Larry, you say that exactly right. I mean, we see a cloud move over, and in 30 seconds, you can drop the track.
Well, when you're talking about, you saw on our weather at the very beginning, a track temperature of 146 degrees. I don't know that we've seen a track that warm in a long time.
Landon Castle was 18th after qualifying in Charlotte back in May. That's his best ever start on a mile-and-a-half.
He got out of shape getting into 1. The back of the car, he was really loose getting into 1. It pushed him up the hill there quite a bit.
We're gonna make a second lap here.
Yeah, that first turn was not good.
That shot right there, I think that just supports just how bumpy and how rough this racetrack is. Of course, they're very aggressive, and the cars are real rigid for qualifying anyhow, but the bumps just somewhat magnify it.
Well, and Darrell, even if he missed turn 1 there, he still ran a 30.659, good enough for 5th. Let's see what he can do on the second one.
Oh, it wasn't a complete miss.
Right.
It just didn't. It just didn't get it in there like I'm sure he wanted to. That's why we heard him say, "I'm going to run 2."
Starting to move back to the left a little bit. Just definitely got through the middle 3 and 4 and off better.
I think he's calling it. He said it's going to be a little bit better.
And it was, jumped to 3rd.
Good lap.
30.505. Good enough for 3rd, Chris.
Well, Tony Stewart was the first one on the racetrack after that weather blew through, and now we're starting to get a little bit more weather here. Tony, being that first guy out there, you saw all that debris, all that dirt. Is that a little bit unnerving?
No, I mean, NASCAR was out there and they looked at it, and we know that when they hold us like that, there's a reason, and we knew what was coming. So we just waited till they said it was good, and when they said it was okay, we knew it was going to be all right.
Temperatures dropped a good 15 to 20 degrees. Do you think like the track maybe had a little bit more grip than it had earlier today?
Yeah, but the wind's tricky now. So one end you got wind helping you, the other end it's working really against you. So it's definitely a little bit more of a handful than it was in practice now.
And Larry, I've got some bad news for you, man. Your eggs and bacon, I think they're in Cincinnati.
They are at the Waffle House now.
Yeah, I didn't think they stayed long in the infield. Didn't look good. Didn't have a good feeling about that.
Here's a look at the weather and how it has changed. We started at 100 degrees. It's dropped to 88, but look at what the track has done.
Yeah, that right there is huge.
That's big, man.
Casey Mears taking a crack at it.
Good lap for Casey. 30.44, 3rd quickest. Had a good top 15 finish last week at Sonoma.
He really did. Had a nice run out there. Made Booty happy.
That wind, too, Darrell, is pushing the guys down into turn 1. It's going to be right in your face as you come off of 2.
Yeah, I think that's what I've seen a couple of guys going into 1. It's kind of a sweeper anyway, and it's really pushed the back of the car out a little bit on a couple of guys getting into 1 down here.
Casey's second run, quicker still. A 30.367 moves him up to 2nd. Marty, how's it feel to you out there?
It's nice and breezy now, Ralph, and the breeze actually feels good. I talked to Casey Kane's guys right after Casey ran his lap. They're the ones who gave us the information. Down 40 degrees, as you guys saw, on track temperature completely changes the racetrack. Jamie McMurray told me, I'm glad we get to redo qualifying here. I get to go out on a completely different racetrack. Larry Mack, I can't imagine a 40-degree drop in qualifying temperatures. I don't know when the last time we saw that was. A completely different racetrack for these guys in the second half of qualifying versus the first half.
Yeah, even Marty, when we would start a qualifying session in daylight and end at dark, I'm not sure the track conditions would drop that much.
But it's always important. If you're going to start qualifying at 5 o'clock, you want to be one of the last guys to go out. Even if everything had stayed the same, the track would have speeded up a little bit, but not anything like we're seeing now. This is a gift.
Yes, sir. But it's one of the perks for being the fastest in practice.
Exactly.
The first practice.
4 poles, 7 wins on a 1.5 mile size racetrack for Greg Biffle.
He's going to move the mark a lot when I look at that difference right there.
Boy, did he. 30.041 right to the top.
This is his kind of track. You know, slipping, sliding, bouncing around. I mean, this is perfect for the Biff.
There's no question, with as many drivers as we have left, we're going to get in the 29s.
Yeah, and the cooling down, we will see the results of that for quite some time now. That asphalt will continue to cool down with the wind and the cloud cover.
Well, 1 was good enough for Biffle, too. He's done. Why not? Those things are bouncing through there so much, looks like a whoop section.
Well, and where that happened, it hurt his first lap and his second lap.
That's why I think Biffle. That's why I think the Biff will be pretty good here. He kind of likes that off-roading. That's what that feels like, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. He's still the quickest with a 30.041. Let's see what Joey Logano can do.
Joey in 4 Nationwide Series starts here. He has 3 poles and 3 wins. Nobody sat on a pole or won a race here in the Nationwide Series from 2008, 2010, but Joey Logano.
He owned this place during that period.
Yeah, talk about Kentucky Speedway. Even at 12 years old, he won the Young Lions National in a Legends car on a quarter mile here. So he stayed undefeated at Kentucky for a long time.
He sure did.
We might adopt him into the Big Blue Nation. I don't know. I'll have to talk to my people about it.
Of course, one from the pole Pocono, Daryl.
That would be Ashley Judd and company.
Yeah, you and her.
Yeah.
Well,
Not to talk about it.
That was a great first lap for Joey's second quickest at a 30:19. He's going to play 2, but it's going to slow down for Joey.
Yep, to a 30.744. That 30:19, Chris, that was good enough for second.
Well, Ralph, all the talk this week since Tuesday, all the chatter has been about Matt Kenseth switching teams. But, Matt, you didn't let all that noise get in the way of a good qualifying session. Right now, you are 4th up on the pole.
Yeah, that's not going to be very good. I think we'll probably hopefully be a little better than 20th, but probably not a lot. So I just said the winds were calm when I left, and I think I picked up some tailwind, and I just missed turn 1 the first lap. And we've also really struggled today with our fifth-third fusion, so hopefully they'll get it better for tomorrow.
It's got to be blowing about 20 miles an hour down into turn 1 right now. So how is that trying to drive the car in there?
That sounds about right since I missed it by about 10, I think. So you got to be smarter than that and realize how fast you're going. And I just wasn't, and got in there too far and got the car in the ground and just missed that corner. So I'm happy with the speed of our car. We just got to get it driving a little better for tomorrow night.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks.
Chris, this is a guy that was #1 at the end of final practice, Jeff Gordon. But I talked to him, Daryl, and he said, I don't think it's going to be good enough for the pole, but I got a pretty good race car.
Well, we'll find out. He usually calls it before he gets to the line if he thinks it's pretty good. It's looking pretty good according to that tracker. I think it'll be in the 29s.
Takes him right to #1, 29.994, the first driver to dip below 30.
Yeah, good lap, 29.92.
That's a crew chief watch.
Thought I felt some raindrops there, so.
Wouldn't be surprised. I just saw a huge flash of lightning off to our left. We'll keep an eye on that. Marty, what does Martin Truex think about the way qualifying is unfolding?
I think he feels pretty good about it. Track's sped up quite a bit. You think you can knock down Ryan Newman's number up there, Martin?
Well, we were faster and he wasn't practice, so we'll just have to see. But Napa Toyota's been really good in race trim or qualifying trim today. Not so good in race trim, so we got some work to do for tomorrow night. But feel pretty good about qualifying.
How challenging is it when you have this wind, which is so unpredictable, to really kind of guide it down into turn 1 the right way?
Yeah, the wind is definitely challenging when it's gusting like it is, especially pushing you down in the corner. But practicing today when it was like 110 degrees out, and then qualifying now with it cooling off, then racing tomorrow night when it's going to be cooling off a little too. It's kind of a crazy way to have practice and stuff, but we'll just deal with it best we can. The car's been good, and a good starting spot will go a long way in the race tomorrow night, so we'll try to get us a good one here.
Kind of feels like a completely different day down here. It was like 140 earlier. Not too bad now, is it?
It's eerie. We got like weird sounds down here, and we thought we heard a train before. Things are just going weird today.
They are, but right now, Brad Keselowski with a hopefully very good qualifying lap going on, Ralph.
Yeah, Brad is out there, and of course, this is a backup car, Larry.
Yeah, as soon as the first practice started earlier today, Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 left pit road, kind of feeling things out. As he went down into turn 3, Brad Keselowski was full head of steam and went to the inside of Montoya, got into the side of Montoya, and then went up and hit the wall. This is a backup car that they were pretty quick with in that second practice.
Good enough for 5th. See if he can improve.
He's definitely going to improve, it looks like. A lot. I think it's going to be good enough. No, second quickest.
Yep, #2, 29.966.
Backup cars get a bad rap, though, because they're really not backup cars like we think they are.
Yeah, like they used to be.
I was worried about the weather, so I thought, who can I get to go up in the air and check it out? So I got Hammond, and I had Hammond to go up and give us a weather report and see what it was really like up there amongst them.
Hammond to do anything.
He's going to dive out of there maybe before it's over with. I was thinking the same thing, but Larry and I were in a helicopter, and we were going to an appearance, and we went through a rainstorm, and Larry was a nervous wreck. I said, "It's okay, buddy." I said, "It's just like going through a car wash." He said, "I've never been through a car wash at 3,000 feet.
A.J. Allmendinger. It's pretty good, Larry.
That's the first thing that came to my mind. AJ was pretty quick in practice and sat on the pole at a very similar racetrack at Kansas back in the spring.
My man's like that Rodney Dangerfield. Don't get no respect. I got 1,000,000 of them.
Allmendinger, number 7. 30.183. He's still deep into the throttle as he comes off the tune. Let's see what he's got on lap number 2.
Well, based on what we've been seeing, running a second lap for some of these guys is paying off.
Yeah, we've had a number of drivers that's picked up.
He got that thing down on the bottom there in 3 and 4 too.
He looks like he's going to improve a little bit. It slid back a little bit late exit, but he picks up a little bit.
Picks up on the time, but stays the same on the slot on the board, doesn't he? 30.160 was the improvement on the clock, but still not good enough to get to 6th or better. Marty, we haven't seen Dale Jr. yet. How's he feeling about his car today?
I think the answer to that would be pretty good. They were awfully good. Was it better, Junior, in qualifying trim or race trim today?
I'm more concerned about race trim. That's sort of where they pay the money at. But we had some pretty decent runs, some pretty decent goes in qualifying trim earlier, but you just never know. The track's changed quite a bit, and we don't really know what the balance is going to be like. Just drive down in there and find out.
And that's the one interesting part, that the track has changed so much. Guys don't know what to expect, but Junior and his team only did one qualifying run all day long, Ralph. Everything else, race trim.
Just tell me it's a whole lot better. It's a whole lot better.
Just go with it. Marcos Ambrose.
And he's one of the drivers that spun coming off turn 4 in that first practice session. Good thing he didn't hit anything.
You know, he did this exact same thing last year here.
Yeah,
first session.
He did.
Spun there, too.
The car is starting to look a lot like Bill Elliott's old car.
It is.
Yeah.
That 9 and the red paint on the side.
Sitting 9th right now with a 30.204. Set on the pole with the trucks here in Kentucky in 06.
The biggest thing I'm seeing with a lot of these drivers now, it looks like he's paying a penalty for it now, but they seemingly carry more speed getting down to turn 1 on lap 2 than they do lap 1. Question is, will it stick?
Coming off of 4, headed to the line.
He got a great run through 3 and 4, and he's definitely going to step it up.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Right up to 5th. 30.082. Just missed out on the 29-second range, but Brad Keselowski found that mark, Chris.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski pretty happy when he got out of the car. I heard you say on the radio you're going to buy your crew a beer.
Yeah, I got this beer deal. I don't know if you've heard about it with Miller Lite, but you know, they give me a bunch of free stuff, which is great. But
and you tell your crew you're going to buy them a beer?
Yeah, well, you know, I'll go to a bar with them and buy it. How about that? You know, so they did a great job today fighting through some adversity, and the Miller Lite dive just pretty fast. For me to qualify second, that's pretty good. You know, I'm not a very good qualifier, so obviously this is a great race car, and I can't look forward to, or can't say how much I look forward to racing tomorrow night under lights here in Kentucky.
Yeah, you talk about that adversity. You obviously had some contact earlier in the day with Juan Pablo. What happened there?
Well, I think we could probably all agree that I ran into the back of him. I think that's probably where the common ground is. From there, there's probably some varying opinions. So that's something that him and I will hopefully be able to work through. And if not, so be it. But, you know, for me, I feel like, you know, I can't let people push me around in this sport. And my team works really damn hard to put me in a position where I have fast race cars like I got. And, you know, I've got to show them that I care enough about them to deserve those cars. And so allowing other people to push me around on the racetrack is not something I'm going to stand for.
Well, hopefully these two can play nice tomorrow night.
Jamie McMurray is 9th with a 30.169. For those of you tuning in looking for trackside, you will see it in its entirety once we are done with qualifying here. And it looks like, Darrell, we've got maybe about 8 cars left to go.
Yeah, but you know, that was that interview we just had with Brad. That's the Brad of a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You know, that was a Brad that was kind of didn't know when to hold them and when to fold them.
That's the bad Brad.
That's the one. Yeah. And the last, I don't know, year and a half or so, he's been a lot calmer. But he didn't like what happened with Ian Montoya. That was very obvious. And I don't say that I blame him. You know, a driver has to stand up for what he thinks right. I'm not sure that going out there the second time and retaliating was a smart thing to do.
How much would you take, and when did you decide I've had enough?
Usually didn't wait. I mean, you saw what he did. He came in the garage. He went right to it. When that happened, that accident happened in the first practice, he went right to their garage and stopped. And I guess he yelled out a few things to the crew members there. He didn't like it. He let them know about it. And then when the track opened for practice again, he went right back out there and laid it to Montoya.
Kevin Harvick got on the track. Is that how you decided things when you were driving, though?
You know, it was always different. It depended on who it was. I always looked to see how big they were. You know,
well,
like I never badmouthed Buddy Baker very often.
Yeah.
But most drivers are what I call woofers. They woof. They talk a lot. And they, you know, hit me, push me. Most guys don't really have a lot of fight in them.
Well,
Kevin
Harvick's
does.
got some fight in him on this
Yeah.
qualifying run right now. Look at the tracker. This is going to be a great run for Happy Harvick.
Right to the top with a 29.939, 29.939, and Harvick is looking really good.
I think, though, I mean, this is great for these guys that are going late.
But it was too hot.
Got his too hot. It's great for these guys going late there, but I'm not sure this is a good indicator compared to everybody else how good your car really was.
No, it makes me think that when we drop the green flag tomorrow night, we'll see some comers and some goers.
I think that's what I'm seeing.
Well, here comes Denny Hamlin.
I'd like to have seen Denny earlier this week. In fact, Marty Schneider was up there in Anchorage, Alaska with him, and Denny was learning how to do the dog sled racing. He's got a little piece of trash hung on the, I think, behind the rear tire.
Yep.
Like maybe on a quarter panel brace. Yeah, Denny has had 2 consecutive DNFs. The crash at Michigan and then a late race spin. Tore up some suspension there at Sonoma last week.
Looks like the trash is blown away. Hamlin, a pole winner here for the NASCAR Nationwide Series in 06 in June.
Well, as you look at the tracker, it does not appear that trash was holding him back to no degree.
No, here he comes. This could be a good one. It is. He's number 1, 29.810.
He moved it a ton, a full 1/10 of a second.
And of course, every time somebody goes to the top, that is a new track record.
It is.
Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, all still to go.
And they're all chomping at the bit. They want to go before the sun comes back out or the track warms back up. I mean, ideal conditions right now.
Well, he's a little slower on the second lap, 29.917. Everybody's gunning for Hamlin with a 29.810. Has Junior got anything for him? How about Jimmy Johnson? They're all coming up as qualifying continues on speed. Eric Almirola has already completed his run. He's number 9 on the chart with a 30.111. And out on the track right now, Martin Truex, the birthday boy.
And Martin turns 32 years old today, and his first lap, 6th quickest at a 30 flat.
Won the pole at Texas this year.
Yeah, Larry and I were talking a little bit about Martin and how well he ran at Kansas. In Kansas, in the condition it was in when we were there last month, is a lot like this racetrack. Kind of a slick surface, not a lot of grip. Watch out for Martin Truex.
Lap 2 is slower by a little over a 1/10. Trackside coming up as soon as qualifying is over. Last week's race winner, Clint Boyer, out onto the track.
And Michael Waltrip said it in his interview. Darrell said it earlier. Clint Boyer, 110 laps, 11 turns. I'm not sure he ever missed a turn during that whole race.
And led 71 of those laps. I mean, the guy just was phenomenal. Nobody saw that coming. But he had a great car. And that makes you look good on a road course, but he did an awesome job of not screwing it up.
He had a great weekend all the way around. He even auctioned off a Toyota Tundra truck at Barrett-Jackson down in Orange County for charity. It was a 6-figure truck.
It was cool looking. Did you see it?
Yeah, that was real good looking.
Looked like something out of the movie Cars.
Well, this first lap is going to be a solid lap. I don't know that it keeps going to the left. I'm not sure it's going to be a pole run, but let's see if he maybe tries for 2. Fourth quickest for Clint at a 29.96.
It's just crowded. That tracker can't find. It's a 93, a 94, a 96, a 96, and 99 are just all on top of each other right there. Kind of drives that old tracker crazy.
And he shut her down. He said, "That's all I got, boys."
Yeah, 29.962. Fourth.
It's Fast Friday.
Yeah.
We've been down to the Fast 5 here the last couple of cars. See who's going to take her on down into the 29s, even lower.
Well, let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. When it comes to career wins on a 1.5-mile track, Jimmie Johnson, pretty solid. He's got 16 of them. You can get unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series through the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
You know, you get those wins because you're a great driver, but also he has a car that always has a lot of horsepower, aerodynamically probably as good as anything in the garage, and got a guy that's pretty good at working on it. That helps you win those races.
Just take a look at this right here, guys. It's solid over there.
Going to go on down in those 29s. That's what I'm looking for.
This is going to be an unbelievable lap for Jimmie Johnson.
How about 29.70?
We're getting close to 182 miles an hour around this place.
And he's done with that. 1 was enough when you put a number up like that.
We'll say 182 miles. That's an average. He's got to be hitting well over 200 down the straightaway.
But these 2 bullets that's coming off pit road next, they are, and that's Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's been fast ever since practice started, and Kyle Busch, who's been just as quick.
And Junior's going to go first. 6 of his 10 career poles on 1.5 miles.
This car looked mighty, mighty good all through practice. Whether they were in qualifying trim or race trim, this car was solid as a rock.
Well, just like Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been all year long, that 23rd place finish last week, that was his first finish this year outside the top 20.
Got the big win in Michigan 2 weeks ago. Can they pick back up with some momentum here? Could it be a pole winner at Kentucky?
Kind of rolled it in soft, getting into one, which I think was smart, and didn't want to overdrive it. He got back in the throttle really early down there in the middle of 1 and 2. He's carrying some good speed out of turn 4 here. Let's see how he does.
Yeah, and just listen to his interview. I don't know that he's going to play 2. Nope, he shuts her down the minute he takes the checkered flag. Or the white
6th
flag.
with a 29.963.
It's good effort.
Solid.
Yeah, well, Keselowski's going to buy his guys a beer, and Dale Jr. is going to buy his guys a Mountain Dew.
I'll tell you what, all these crew guys working here today earned whatever they want.
You got that right.
1 to go. And when that storm was rolling through here a little while ago, I didn't think we'd get this far.
And I got to tell you, I've had beer sponsors and I've had drink sponsors, soft drink sponsors as well, and you can get free help with either one.
Well, if you need M&Ms, Kyle Busch is your guy.
And with Jimmie Johnson on the pole currently, Kyle Busch, the last driver to qualify, we know for a fact, regardless, we're going to have our 12th different pole winner of 2012.
In a nationwide car, in a truck series machine, and in a cup car, Kyle Busch has won at Kentucky. Let's see if he can sit on the pole here tonight.
He's a little bit behind right now, as you can see, going off into turn 3 and 4, but it went the right direction as he picked the throttle up.
It did, Larry, but I think he lost a little in the middle of the corner there. He drove into into 3, nice on the bottom, but it pushed up.
Yes, he's number 2, 29.765. And it sounds like he slowed down.
Oh, man.
And he is 1 and done.
So Jimmie Johnson wins the pole at Kentucky with what will be considered a track record with a 29.7 flat, and he's with Chris.
Yeah, big smiles down here. I heard you on the radio. You said you got a little bit of air down there in the corner. That kind of reminds you of a trophy truck out in the desert? I haven't been off the ground in quite some time, and there's a huge jump below the racetrack on the apron just past the start-finish line. So very comfortable lap, very good lap. Qualifying has not been our strong suit over the last 2 years, so very happy to get this pole today. Very cool race car, and very proud of the relationship with Lowe's and all the great things they do. My Chevy's bad fast, and looking forward to a good race.
Yeah, last year was a little bit of a qualifying drought. No poles last year. Your last pole was in 2010, so feel pretty good to get another pole?
Yeah, it does. I've had a lot of seconds, and there's nothing more frustrating than a close second than in qualifying. But today went really well, and I think we've got a great race car come race trim as well.
You've only got 5 tracks in this whole series that you haven't won on. This is one of them. How good would it be to check that off the list?
It would be great. I've had a lot of crashes here over the years. We used to test here a lot back in the day, and turns 3 and 4 have taken quite a few 48 race cars from us, Lowe's cars. So to run well last year was really good for me, and I came back with a lot of confidence. The conditions earlier today were so slick that it took a while to get the feeling I was looking for, but I think we're on the right track now.
And full drivers have 2 wins this year. Jimmy Johnson trying to be the first guy to get 3.